think so. But let's move on for our first matchup of the night. Let's talk about Antic Esports, the roster that let's just welcome the org to Tier 1 OCE for the very start. Thank you very much for joining us. We hope that you enjoy your time here and your time on this flight. Captain speaking? I don't know. Speaking of, kind of captains and talking, you've got one of the loudest, most obnoxious players in the league mixed with the Don, who arguably is probably the most humble dev.
Yeah, this is a very curious roster. Obviously, Tuhan, Logic, Juicy from that old Triple R roster. Already a very solid foundation, but I do think that Killerman and Frixel could really bring a lot to the table. Both very much young, promising players from last year on the X-Mammoth roster, really made a name for themselves there. You've got a lot of fragging capability, but at the end of the day, despite Tuhan and Logic's experience, this is kind of just Juicy with another 4 rookies, and that didn't work out so well for Circular Spheres, and it may well work here for Antic. I do think that these guys are probably the most solid contender for second, but I also wouldn't be surprised if they do struggle a little bit on the mental side of things. Just so many young and fiery players, and it's always possible that they go up against a team like Order that is perhaps a little bit more chill, and they will struggle.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with that as well. I think outside of Bliss, so if you look at the statistics from last year and then exclude Bliss from all the stats, essentially Tuhan, Killerman, Frixel, and Logic are your top 5 players that are non-Bliss players in the region, right? So on theory, on paper, this should be your second team or your second place team or the strongest contending team for that Manchester major spot, excluding Team Bliss. And I think I'd have to agree with Dev on that as well. On paper, this should be a very good team.
But it never really works out that way, does it? Paper just doesn't translate. It never has. But we are very excited to see this roster and what it could potentially do. But they are going up against what I have always said is my second favourite team in this region. We have an incredible addition tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please help me in welcoming back Kelton to the Kelton's Night.
Is he actually playing, though?
He is actually playing.
There's no way. I will not believe it until I see him in the server.
I was having a lovely little chinwag with Mr. Vincier before we got to the studio today, and he had warned me that there was a special surprise coming. He said maybe Kelton might be playing. He's been competing up until now.
You just look at that sly smile on Bouncing's face, and you're like, he knows.
Oh, yeah, he knows what's about to happen. And for those of you who don't know, Bouncing Balls, formerly one of the biggest gunners in the region. We've seen him on a multitude of rosters, and we've always had the name on the tip of our lips, Mandy. It's just been incredible.
Look, that guy's gone to a major, yo. Like, there is definitely some history, guys.
I reckon, like, all those years ago when he came up with the name Bouncing Balls, he was just waiting for the day that he was like being casted by Pengu or Parker or one of them big names, and like, and Bouncing Balls gets another kill.
Wow, that American accent. I don't know about that. But Mandy, what do you think about this roster? I mean, we saw them last year. They were competitive, but they never played the game.
No, but this year they're actually playing the game.
No.
Really? So
no way.
The inside scoop is that they are actually going to play the game this year. But within reason, okay? They're not going to overcommit to the game. They're not going to overcommit to the game because if you invest too much emotionally and then the game doesn't return to you, then it's a bit like, oh, boo, you know?
Yeah,
but within reason, they are playing the game. They are scrimming on occasion. They have some strategy.
Did they say that they're like scrimming now? Because they weren't even scrimming last year.
No, yeah.
These guys took a map off of Bliss, by the way.
No. They are cooking now.
Are they dry running, stratting? Like
they have some strats, as I understand it, and they are playing the game together.
To contextualize that as well, Dev said that they took a map off of Bliss. They were the only team last year in Oceania to beat them at all, to take a map off them. That is absolutely ridiculous. And there's a dynasty forming in Oce, and we'll talk about that a lot later. I hear the in the background. It's coming. But it is time for us to have a look at the veto, see what map we're going to be heading to for our opening match of Stage 1. Cafe is going to be banned out by Antic, followed by Labs. Interesting not to see Labs sneak through. Bank. So, okay, it's I was going to say, it's going to be an Oregon or a Clubhouse, isn't it? No Chalet. Chalet is a massive staple of this region. We're all of a sudden headed to... I don't like the looks of this, I'll be honest with you. I do not like the looks of this at all. This is a map that I feel like we just do not play here in Oce.
Oh, dear.
I could be wrong, but this will be an interesting opening match.
Oh, dear. So, as I understand it, basically every map actually got played pretty evenly in the qualifier. So in the open qualifier bracket to get into this league, almost every single map was played pretty evenly, with the exception of Clubhouse, which was played like twice more than every map, right? So Skyscraper is a map that we now play, Rob. I know it shocks me as much as it shocks you, but we play Skyscraper. Now, does Kelton's Knights play Skyscraper? I don't know.
Well, they have a few times in the past. Most recently, it was only a week and a half ago, they beat Big Dogs on this map during that qualifier. However, that was an 8-7 against Big Dogs, now Panic Esports, right? Like, that is a team that you should ideally be trouncing. You should not be going within one round or losing to them. And so I'm actually a little bit worried for Kelton's Knights. They did play this as well the day before against Circular Spheres and won 7-5. And so I do think Kelton's Knights, this is in their repertoire, though it's quite new to being in their repertoire because historically they banned it a lot. I'll tell you what, though, for Antic, when they played the qualifier, they never banned Skyscraper. It was always in every single one of their BO3s that they played, the last ban against them. So they left it in, and they got their opponents to ban it out in the last minute. And I think that tells you a little bit about how prepared both of these teams are to go to this map, despite us not seeing it a lot.
Is that a little bit exciting for you, Mandy? You know, new stage, new year, and we're starting to see some spanners in the works already. We've got Kelton joining the Kelton's Knights. We've got a new iteration of Antic that could potentially... Look, we always like to be optimistic going into a league and saying, it's a new face, it's a new start. This could potentially be the best iteration of this roster. Will it be? Who knows? But heading to Skyscraper for the first map of these two teams playing, again, with the context that you've got, is there a better way to start?
No, I don't think there is a better way to start. This should be an exciting matchup between two teams who, on paper, are very closely matched. I should not be saying that anymore because nothing ever works out that way.
Never does.
But it should be a fun one.
I think overall, when you look at the grand scheme of this league, and it's really going to be important as we start to get through the play days, that we, I guess, water down some of the expectations for the best of ones and the conversation around where we're heading, because the top 6 do make it through to playoffs. So it's quite a large variety.
It's true, but you get a massive bracket advantage as well in the playoffs bracket. So you really want to be going for that number 1 seed, number 2 seed, number 3 seed. You don't want to end up 6th place. Yes, only 2 teams are eliminated technically from the round robin phase, but that doesn't take away from the impact of these matches. However, I think it does account for some of the quote-unquote randomness that can occur, because as we're talking about, I'm just going to bring it back to Bliss for a second.
Always.
Bliss, no one can argue Bliss are the best team in the region right now, right? But that doesn't mean that they will qualify, because especially in the 7BO1 format, right? Like, they lost a few more rounds to Triple R at the end of last year, and they wouldn't have gone to Atlanta, wouldn't have gone to SI. And it goes to show that having that BO3 bracket system is going to guarantee that we get the best, most well-rounded team. And if anyone can hack it in BO3s against Bliss, then by God, go and take the crown at Manchester, see what you can do. Because in this region, we don't have the funding for players to play full-time. Only a few of the Bliss players even play full-time, right? And so for teams like Antic Esports, for the retirees on Kelton's Knights to come out here and show what they've got in these BO1s, it's a real testament to the dedication to the game, especially for Kelton's Knights, who are maybe even more dedicated than perhaps they were last year.
I would love to see that, because I feel like if Kelton's Knights actually got their crap together, they could be, you know, second best team in the region. They've got so much experience, they've got so much firepower. Keen to see how Bouncin plays. That's obviously a big question mark for me. When he stormed onto the scene back in 2021 after being in, you know, the second tier of OCE for ages, I was like, who the hell is this guy? Like, he's got nothing. And then all of a sudden, he's on some of the biggest rosters. He's playing against, you know, the best teams in our region, and he was performing each and every game. So this is an exciting return for him. But it is really important to contextualize the OCE League as a whole. At the start of last year, we called it the Farmers League, and unfortunately some people got a little mad. They got a little big boy upsetty. I don't know who it was.
Who got mad?
Some people got some big boy upsetty, and it's still a Farmers League. We've still got people taking out the cattle to make sure it's all done and dusted. Shearers working in the shear sheds in the morning and then coming to OCE League at night. It's still the same thing. And baristas as well. It's important to note, you know, people making coffees, they're coming back to play for this league. So it really, I hope that kind of helps the viewers at home, hopes it helps everyone at home watching start to understand how much of a struggle it is for this region to get off the ground. In fact, I think it might actually be one of the only regions that has this unique struggle in the form of the actual support that it gets. Because most other regions have full orgs, full support. They've even got coaching staff. Or I would probably hedge my bet. I'm just going to go out there on a limb and say that the coaches that are in these leagues are completely dedicating way too much time to actually watching the games and preparing their matches, which also comes back to credit, I guess, the dedication and respect that we do owe them. It's a little bit tough. But Mandy, for the final little prediction here, if you're a betting person,
okay.
Are you with Antic? Are you with this new iteration of Antic? Do you think that, stealing the heart and soul of of the fragging power on X Mammoth, do you think that could potentially fix some of the issues we saw from them in the preseason tournament?
I think the new iteration of Antic is probably better than the iteration of Triple R last year. I personally think that, at least, especially with the addition of Killerman and Frixel. I think, that those guys are pretty keen to jump on and be good at the game.
Yep.
Will it make them qualify to Manchester? Was that your question? Like, be that?
Just, I guess, no. Like in this matchup in particular.
In this matchup in particular,
yeah.
I've actually predicted Kelton's Knights for this
Okay.
matchup in particular.
Yeah.
So
Tell me why, because I was actually leaning towards Antic.
yeah, so
Someone's saying, tell me why back there.
what's going on? I think I've gone on Kelton's Knights because I think that the week one nerves might settle in for
Sure.
Antic, to be honest. I think that fielding a team within a pretty short amount of time since the disbands from the campaign, essentially after that, right, with the older Cyrus
about
We
roster.
didn't even talk about that,
Yeah.
but they literally got picked up by an org, played half
Jeez,
of
you're
a
gonna put 'em
tournament
out
and
on.
disbanded. What happened there, boys?
Yes, well, basically what I'm trying to say is I think that Kelton's Knights are probably in the better headspace for the game
Yeah.
than Antic are.
I would agree.
And that's the path that I'm leaning towards. I think Antic might get into this game and go, ooh, scary opponent a little bit, and then get in their own heads, and then maybe Kelton's Knights just stay calm, come out on top. That's my theory.
Let's
I
pray.
still can't move past this. Who did they lose to in the campaign? Which team was it?
it
Circular
was-
Spheres, mate. No?
Circular
Yeah,
Spheres.
it was
Sure.
something like that.
That's
It was,
so funny.
well, let's hope that they've shaken off their, let's just say, nerves from the campaign. It is time for us to get underway with our very first matchup. And there's two gentlemen that look quite tanned. I'm not sure where from. Guys, Xenox, enjoy the match.
Yeah, I think up north we got a little bit more sun today in the old wallet. But guys, it's obviously great to be back here in the studio to begin Oceania League for 2024. And obviously on the desk, pretty much outlaid. It is very much still Bliss's league, but there are contenders. And obviously one of them is in this match in Antic Esports as we go retro style, not just on the desk, not just in the studio, but even in the game.
Yeah, let's jump into it. It is good to be home, Jake, and keen to jump into some Skyscraper. We only saw this map appear once. Stage 2, 2023. Odium and Aerial Rise went at it, and Aerial Rise able to edge out 7-5 in that particular matchup. So it's a map that historically, traditionally, I suppose, we haven't seen a ton of here in OCE. But good to see it's getting some playtime here for day number 1 of 2024.
Yeah, shake it up a little bit. One thing this region probably needed was an expanded map pool. I think outside of Bliss, the rest of them very much loved their clubhouses, their Oregons. Keep it safe, keep it very defaulty. Which again, mind you, as we begin this league, it is essentially group stage seeding. That's the way we need to preface this. But the importance on it is beyond, say, normal seeding matches. You want to avoid Bliss for as long as possible. To do that the best way possible, second and third gets you on the other side of the bracket, and also sixth, technically, but you don't really want to finish sixth. So in an ideal world, second and third. And I would actually argue, I think these are the two teams that should fill out those positions if everything goes to Mandy's paper.
Yeah, potential battle for second. And look, again, obviously seeding matches in quotation marks, but I'd still say that if the teams are really gunning to try and take down Bliss for top position, they need to be treating these games with respect and an opportunity to continually improve and refine their gameplay throughout the stage, feeling out roster changes, getting a vibe for map pool and the map meta for the region as well. So there's a lot to break down. Talking on the ban phase more specifically, Ying, Monty, Bandit, and Solace. Bandit probably standing out as being the one that's a little bit left of field, considering that we still have the likes of the Azami, who still gets playtime post-nerf, and the Valkyrie sneak through. On the attacker side, though, very, very standard. Ying, execute heavy. I mean, we're seeing her banned almost every game. And Monty has been quite prevalent throughout the regions that have already kicked off so far. Well, most of the regions have kicked off, and Monty has been quite powerful.
Great to see you bouncing back, as that is a name we've obviously missed for so long in this region, Guz. Carlton's Knights without Kelton, well, now finally with him. And I think it's the best iteration of this roster that we've actually seen so far since its initial conception as kind of the washed pros, if you will. Now with bouncing back into this roster, more time committed, and they're all a little bit more real with themselves in saying, hey, you know what? Last year wasn't so bad. We were pretty good considering we didn't put much time into the game. We put that little bit more in. There is every world in which this roster could go to a major, for example. We've already seen them take down Bliss last year, but that was probably bootcamp debuff for them more than anything. Antic Esports, again, new roster in terms of this being formed together. Of course, Logic retired, for those unaware, for all of 2 weeks, and then unretired, and this roster was put together. But very much a team that I think with high expectations and aspirations, can they be the ones to, say, take down Bliss later on in this stage? We're about to find out. Two teams that are very much wanting to be contenders. Hopefully can get off to a good start here on Skyscraper.
Yeah, I think for me, probably the most exciting element for Antic heading into this stage is the addition of Killerman into the roster. He was the 5th highest rated player across the region, showed a lot of promise back in 2023. If he can keep the good times rolling, if he's put in playmaking positions, we'll see what he's able to achieve on the Warden this time around.
Ooh, I love this.
Let's see what Kelton's can cook up though. So the OCE are in play for Bounce and Balls. He's got the full name inside the server, so we're contractually obliged to say the full name. And Talon Shields offer playmaking opportunities.
Contractually obliged. Not sure if that's how it works. He does get the opening kill though. How fitting for Bounce and Balls for Kelton's Knights, as Frixel will meet his demise early on. And a good start as well for the attacking team coming into a map like Skyscraper, which can at times be a little difficult to make entry over towards delivery. Now with Tuhan, who probably wants to try and find a kill back as he goes sneaking around back up the stairwell still towards the mezzanine. A big part of this particular site. And over towards Geisha, it's actually Juicy that loses his life to Josh, and it's a 2-player advantage now for Kelton's Knights.
It's an interesting dynamic round 1. Skyscraper, we always say, it's a difficult map to get control of, to get inside of, and then to find picks from as an attack. Whereas Kelton's Knights this time around have already found the first 2, haven't been under a whole lot of counter pressure from the defense. So Antic bleeding picks, not responding accordingly. And for Kelton's Knights, they now have so much time with the 2-man advantage to make this work.
No more logic bombs available, both used by Josh. A couple of flashes, a couple of smokes in terms of utility. Worthy just putting some pressure on Restaurant Stairs as well. Josh over towards that Geisha balcony position has some yellow ping information that he can play off. Same with Worthy. Look at the pinch here. Knows that he's going to be close angle, and he is. Yeah, one lost elsewhere, but the trades come through anyway for Kelton's Knights as Vinny wins against Tuhan. Killerman, the last one alive, and his presence and position known. Already making contact. They know exactly where he will be for the final 40 seconds. This is an astute start for Kelton's Knights. A very good attacking round from them. Antic Esports probably would not have been anticipating such a well-organized attack as Killer tries to make the dash. That eventually makes his way back in, but Vinny watching carefully. And a wonderful opening round for Kelton's Knights.
Yeah, clinical to open the account for Kelton. Attacking rounds expected to come at a premium. We saw the numbers at SI, almost pushing towards 60% defensive win rate. And you can multiply that on a map like Skyscraper, which often surpasses that number, or can in some instances, depending on the matchup. So really couldn't have asked for a better way to kick it off. They get the first 2 picks unanswered. Sure, Bounce and Balls taken low, but survived. And then the second pick also gifted. So Antic will need to tidy things up. They wouldn't have gone into this, again, expecting it to be a free win. Keltons have shown more than enough over the last 12 months that they deserve some respect and that you need to be, very clean with your fundamentals, but you have to translate that inside of the server. It's all well and good to have the mindset. Execution is also important.
Yeah, and again, I think also putting emphasis on the importance of this particular game, because you can kind of wind it all back. It's group stage seeding, yada, yada, yada. But these 2 teams, out of everyone else minus Bliss, are very much in a position where they're going to be fighting for second, fighting for third, trying to get that position in the playoff bracket that they avoid Bliss for as long as possible, arguably until the grand final.
And you avoid the quarters as well. You skip that round, yes. Second place. So that could be,
this could be the deciding
quite
game.
Important as well. So
because these 2 are very much in that conversation. Obviously, there's a lot of water that has to go under the bridge, but it'll be one that you kind of look back to. The winner of this also gets the tiebreaker advantage and all of those benefits. And arguably, you want to start well. Under a new organization, a new banner for Antic Esports as they make their entry into Rainbow Six Siege, a local Australian organization. very much on the upcomings. And of course, for this Antic team, a lot of expectations. For Kelton's Knights, it's kind of continuing on from last year. And then you add in Bouncing, and suddenly, again, there's revived expectations for this roster. Good start from them as they open up the VIP single wall. Pressure here as we go to Exhibition and Office for the second round.
Now, arguably, this objective is a little bit easier to attack with Bandit off the board. We're going to see teams reliant on the Kaid or the Mute to deny hard breach. It is just the Mute, though, this time around. Not all that difficult for the attack to deal with, so we're likely going to see the defense respond with quite open holds, and I think we're seeing that at the moment from Antic. The main double breach has, in fact, a line of sight, so you can't play that balcony necessarily for free. As we can see there, Worthy spots it, thinks better of pushing that particular position. So we'll see how Keltons respond, because this may be something that they haven't seen a whole lot of in scrims. I'm not exactly sure what the meta would be in scrims at the moment, or if they're even scrimming, but we'll see how they respond.
Yeah, Frixel droned out Geisha, by the way, so he's kind of the player looking to expand over on the defense for Antic. As he gets droned, it gives Kelton's Knights a chance to push into the map, maybe go for that pinch over towards Geisha, and then go for the sweep across to have VIP opened up. But outside of that, no main breach. 90 seconds left in the round, or maybe they do have it. Yeah, well, it's a bit of a mess. Obviously, watching closely is Juicy. Oh, as well, speaking of Juicy, finds that kill with the SMG-11. Perfectly timed for the overhead. Drone survives, only 4 left though, and suddenly with that opening kill, advantage for Antic.
Yeah, Vinny now posted outside the breach, but Antic not giving away anything for free, and Juicy farming with the SMG, echoing back to days of old, and is good for 3. With the SMG in hand, we've seen it in years gone by, the effect and the impact he's had in this supportive role, in the ability to find key picks, and he's done a perfect job here in the second round.
I mean, it's a real highlight for him as a player and how good he is at sort of locking down these site positions. That's a 4K, and he knows where the last one is. Go for it, Juicy. Go for your ace. What a response as well. And he's going to get it. Yeah, freebie. Bouncing with a little crouch peek, and he gets caught, as the rest of his team did, all by Juicy. It's a 5K, it's an ace, and it's a good response as well from Antic. Didn't panic after the VIP wall got opened up. They obviously had the sightlines through main breach over towards the balcony. Kind of made it annoying for Kelton to then deal with that, and they get kind of caught on the rappel. They didn't go for a sweep across. Yeah, better round from Antic.
And I think at some point, naturally, during the course of this game, I was going to bring up the storyline for Juicy, because I feel like a lot of people that maybe have only started recently watching don't even know who Juicy is. And the dot point that I've got listed here is chasing former glory in OCE. For those who may not know, Juicy way back in the day qualified for the Mexico Major. The team was unable to attend. From that point onwards, the current Knights roster they were at the time sort of then declined, and then there were roster moves, etc. And it almost feels like Juicy kind of got left behind a little bit. Since that point in time, he's never really been a big name that we're always talking about. Sure, he's been relatively consistent and solid, but still probably in his former shadow.
You know what
a big ace from him, and I'm not fully convinced that he's going to work well on his team. I'm happy to be surprised though, so we'll see how it goes.
I think it's more he hasn't found the right fit, the right roster.
Exactly, that's my point.
I think for Juicy as a player, he's always been such a commanding presence on any team that he's been a part of, especially defensively, holding down sites, plays his role as good as any others, and can even expand outside of it, as we saw in that last round. It's actually not really all that surprising to have seen him go and get that ace. At times, he can frag, both on attack and defense. And so it's very much a matter of how does he complement this roster of young gunners. When you look at Logic, Frixel, Killerman, Tuhan, it symbolizes basically youth and fragging and power and entry. I think he's the main pillar to kind of keep it all in check. Juicy just battling a little drone here towards Geisha, and he's keeping an eye on that entry. Nitrocell ripped, pre-ripped. Josh just outside. They go back to T-Room and Karaoke. Well, that one's thrown a little early, but he follows up, sees the elbow, and he'll go for the free swing. You know why? Because he can just see the back of the player. A little bit messy there from Josh, but I think he was more so concerned about the open wall from Makeup that he just didn't think the follow-up would come from that Nitrocell. So far, Carlton's Knights now have just been kind of kept out in the balcony positions on the exteriors. Bouncing balls, struggling to make entry, trying to shoot the impact grenade. Oh, got the trade, but it's a 3 versus 1 now for Vinny.
Well, welcome to Skyscraper, Jake. Round 2, nobody gets in the building. Round 3, it's Vinny. Finally, around the midpoint of the round, but it's a 1 versus 3. So the damage is already done. Antic play really good gatekeep over towards Geisha, not really allowing anyone to present an attacking threat over there. And then top black also dealt with quite handsomely. The Talon shields from bouncing balls, not really providing enough from that position. And Antic had the right counter util with the impacts, with the nitro cells, the explosives, make that very difficult to play. So some good work from Antic. Round 2 and 3 will be theirs. Unless Vinny can pull us something special. He does have a little bit of info, and if he had found that, it may have made things a little bit more intriguing. Time is on his side. 2 smokes in pocket, but goo mines deployed and information likely available here for the defense.
Yeah, I was going to say, should be able to see these and shoot them out. Had he got that kill, he would have had a minute in a 1-on-2. Very winnable. Now they know exactly where he's pushing. Smoke that he can play off of, but it's not a wall. You can shoot through it and you can walk through it. So something he probably still wants to check, and yeah, exactly. That's exactly where the next damage point does come from that smoke. Pistol out, but immediately they all swarm his position. Great response from Antic. The opening round looked very good for Kelton's Knights, but Antic have immediately responded in the next 2. It is defense skyscraper, and they have won the 2 primaries, but now we go to the tertiary. Barbecue and Kitchen, and suddenly another opportunity maybe could present itself for Kelton's Knights.
Yeah, round number 1 is house money. It's a free dip for Kelton's Knights, and that will help bolster their round count for the half. Tertiary site will be critical for Antic to be disciplined on and ensure that they can bring that same, I suppose, tailored aggression, gatekeeping, map control, not overstepping the mark, but being conscious that Kelton's Knights are going to have holes in their attack, probably more so than other teams you would expect. Unless this team truly is playing behind the scenes and scrimming and they've got good systems, which again is going to take a little bit of time, I think, to see flesh out inside of these officials. But we'll see how they go. I like the Valkyrie pick, and we could see the information that obviously provided in the previous round. Continues to be a very powerful operator, and you combine that with a Legion and a Fenrir, even Frostmats to an extent. You just have to be so careful where you go as an attacker and the information that then presents to the defense.
So change up. Deimos, Jackal, and Yana actually brought as well. Talk about an operator we don't really see these days, certainly out of the meta, but it is now going to be an option here for Kelton's Knights where they can go for a full sweep. Well, get information, plenty.
Yeah, you got like the Jackal Deimos combination for me is the most exciting one. You think about the ability to hunt a Roma, for instance, that could be really intriguing to watch out. It's not necessarily a free kill on a Roma because you have to coordinate around it properly, but I'm eager to see what they'll do.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good change-up for a map where it can be quite difficult, especially Barbecue and Kitchen. Do you really go so direct in this approach? Probably not. And now their lineup does kind of suggest that they will go for that sweep over towards probably Exi and Office. Indeed, yep, that's where the repel in. And straight in as well, down below for Worthy on the Deimos. Of course, does need to get the tag onto an operator to use that death mark. Something to keep mindful of. At times when we were originally getting the first instance of Deimos coming in, I was like, why are they not using the death mark? And you kind of remember they have to actually get that track onto a player through either a drone or any other observational tool. Pat just going to drone out Dragon. And obviously begin the sweep now for Kelton's Knights. Swapping mags.
So we'll see where this hard breach ends up being rotated to as well. Presumably up above for Geisha to start applying some pressure horizontally, or rather vertically. Killman's holding that position at the moment and gets caught off guard. Josh just spraying through the barricade. I don't know if that was in response to information, but he does get the first pick. Hard breach able to get to work, and that's a good start for the Knights.
Makeup opened up. Double swing could come through. Tuhan watching the angle though. Close. Spy now makes a slight adjustment in his positioning. Falls back over to that default spot and talk about timing. Right side head just poked up. Has the rotate hold. Get back to stairs. Droned out. 4 now remaining for Kelton's Knights with 60 seconds on the clock though. They have been able to at least get entry in towards Geisha. Up above through Dragon now established. Got to remember they need to clear Tea Room and Karaoke to get the vert for Barbecue and Kitchen.
Worthy still has 3 death marks as well, so an opportunity maybe to hunt one of these players down, put them on an island, get yourself into 5 versus 3. Vinny has control main stairs, ACOG long line of sight. He can hold that rotation through the restaurant position. Perhaps Kelton's Knights will want a little bit of vert. We'll wait and see. T clear to come through, or at least an attempt. Logic finds one. Is immediately traded though. So 30 seconds on the clock. 4 versus 3. Kelton's Knights have decent information, but Antic also have repositioned a little bit to the likes of delivery. Tuhan on screen now. That doesn't mean they're playing into the vert.
Antic, though, they go for a bit of a counterpunch. I think Knights wanted to obviously go towards site, drop through the hatch, unsuccessful, and a very dismal attack there, considering the lineup that was brought by Kelton's Knights. Well and truly squashed, dealt with by Antic Esports. Calm on the defense. Love the extension up above. 3-1 lead. It is a very defender-sided map, those skyscraper. Knights probably only need maybe one more attacking round to, I think, be able to fill them in with a decent chance then going into the second half. But now you're going to do that on primaries. Makes it hard, and probably anticipating a 5-1 scoreline from here if Antic are the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame they lost that last round, Kelton's Knights, given they had such advanced positions. They had quite a bit of time. I think maybe it's just an instance where the wing condition that they sort of wanted to go for there wasn't really fleshed out. If it was, you know, centered around getting that hatch drop and the diffuser down, they then didn't have kitchen actually properly cleared. They also then had to be conscious of positions like delivery that aren't exposed to vert. So a couple of oversights there in the closing portion of the round there from Kelton's Knights, but good discipline and good basic siege from Antic to identify that they weren't in the strongest of positions. They didn't look to overstep the mark all that much, and they're rewarded in the end by having those good anchor players in set positions.
Juicy up to 9-1 through the first 4 rounds. Heavily influential for the veteran, making his mark here on this Antic Esports roster. As we go to Exhibition and Office, Antic are actually going to bring the castle, barricade off, try and keep control of this drum position. And the Grim now brought to the foray by Josh. Just the singular hard breach, but obviously the Grim does bring the secondaries as well as required. Kaid Claws available through Tuhan. But it is soft wall on the main breach. Easily dealt with by Worthy. Blow that up, and you got the lines of sight.
Deployable shield, though, facing in towards this position, and Frixel will be able to bolster that with his magnets. Elsewhere, Pat will get to work single wall, and Killerman will find the first. Juicy took a lick of damage, but he's been able to survive. Again, he's inside of this A objective, facing in towards that exposed breach. Killerman holding the line on the Samurai window. But Frixel gets taken down. The ACOG R4C pays dividends for Worthy.
Juicy.
But Juicy, this position inside of Office is his home at the moment, and he is making sure to deal with anybody that wishes to intrude.
And I was going to say, you've got the Grim, but the Grim is gone. No Josh, and obviously the Hive Launcher would have been great. You can obviously balance it in, try and get one of the bees to go out around the bomb chassis, so he can't play that position. As Pat tries to take the angle, he gets dealt with comfortably by Killerman. Vinny's on the rappel in a 1 versus 4. The round essentially over. And again, it's Juicy that really just kind of holds down one of the more difficult positions to play. Deep inside of sight with the main breach open, playing it as softball. Killer gets very antsy to finish that round off. 4-1. All smiles for Antic Esports. Juicy is having a heater here as well. 11-1 through 5 rounds as Kelton's Knights are struggling to find a way into the map. They're going too direct, I think. They probably need to just slow things down, go for a sweep across, take your battles over towards Drum, fight anyone but Juicy. You know he's on site, just avoid the man.
Either do that or dislodge with the Grim and put the buck below, something like that. I think for me, the more interesting thing to track, it's maybe not even just this singular game thing, but if Kelton's Knights are playing the game a bit more, and I think Mandy kind of touched on this on the desk, if they're playing the game more, trying to take it a little bit more seriously, are they then upping the stakes for themselves? Are they upping the potential pressure? And when they get put in important matches like this, is that when frustration perhaps might look to set in a little bit? Whereas in the past, you think last year, they didn't care. They're just here for the paycheck, and they were happy to walk home with whatever they got. If it's different this year, and they're not able to play up to the standard that perhaps they're setting themselves, that's when we could see the shift. I'm not saying it is already or anything like that, but
I mean, if you lose to Antic and you lose to Bliss, and at that point you kind of get the sense of feeling that, hey, we're an okay team. We might finish 3rd. But in terms of top 2, in terms of that #1 spot that does go to the major, we're a little bit behind the 8 ball. And we're also a team that realistically aren't going to be putting in the work. We're not going to scrim as much as the others. So you have to obviously then accept the limitations to your roster, to your squad. I think they would have come into this adding in bouncing balls and probably felt like, hey, maybe there is a world in which we can challenge. Let's see how things go. But I wouldn't be surprised if we get towards the end of the day. Now, mind you as well, this is seeding, right? So it is group stage. But this is a pretty big match in the sense that if Antic win this, suddenly that's one less competitor that can fight them for that second spot. Or first for that matter, because we don't know. Antic could beat Bliss. Final round of the half, 4-1 lead at the moment for Antic Esports. It is Skyscraper defense though, but they look very strong, courtesy of Juicy. Holding down site positions. If I'm Kelton's Knights, I'm thinking a little bit less direct, a little bit more sweep across, and Worthy will pay dividends. As Logic got antsy, he actually went for the peak, didn't really need to. And that's something Antic have been kind of good with so far in this half. They haven't really been over-aggressive. Logic goes early there, 2 minutes still on the clock, probably didn't need to make that play.
Yeah, and in the opening round, the only one Kelton's Knights have been able to win was off the back of them punishing over-aggression from the defense. We're seeing Frixel again looking to play contact on the exterior. Just needs to be a little bit conscious of the fact that his team is now down. He dies, you put the rest of your team on a 3v5 on individual islands. It's going to be tough. I suppose also they want to be in playmaking positions, try and find something back if possible, but Frixel will bite the bullet, falls back. Second deployable shield over towards Drum, facing for that push as well on the opposite side to the south. But Kelton's Knights deal with that quite quickly. So good work from the attack, and Antic, to their credit, they do eventually peel back accordingly.
Yeah, it needs to be that kind of layered defense when it comes to Skyscraper. You set up, Drum, Mezzanine, eventually even say Dragon, make it difficult. Then you fall back because they're going to clear positions like that shield. Then you kind of fall back to something like a Geisha. 60 seconds left in this round. Knights still with a player advantage. And I tell you what, a second attacking round actually puts him in a really good position going into the second half. So there is a huge emphasis here on getting this round to go their way. Claymore placed outside of that Geisha window. Keep that in mind. Obviously, Juicy can't get too over-aggressive from this position. He goes prone, and the pushing from Makeup, he should go down. He's eventually punished. Love the little double push there. As a team, coordinated unit from Kelton's Knights. Killer with the response, now in a 2-on-3. With 30 seconds left in the round, Frixel's very low. Does actually spot the laser sight and has the information that they are close left. Killerman,
Can he step up from a position like this? Again, Stage 2, 2023, one of the best players in the league, but he's taken down. Bouncing balls, finds his third in the match, and finds his fourth. The Chiefs card running, harped back to the days of old, and Bouncing balls finding some form.
Yeah, I mean, not a shocking round either. When you kind of take into consideration early on, Logic just goes for a peak that's unnecessary to what we typically see from that sort of onion defense, right? Where you kind of want to hold positions, then fall back, hold position, then fall back. If you're going for a peak that early in the round where there's still 2 minutes on the clock, you're not playing into that kind of theory. And we call this onion onion theory.
I'm just imagining you say that to Fresh to try and explain a peel defense. He would probably put you in a headlock.
It probably would.
When you say onion, it just makes me think of Shrek for some
I'm
reason.
also just taking the piss out of him as well, to be honest. But really good round. They punished that, and then they finally went for a sweep across from Exian Office. Didn't try to go too direct into Geisha, something we saw in one of the earlier rounds. They were trying to fight Juicy, and Juicy inside of Geisha was really difficult to dislodge. He was great. This time, they kind of left him till last, and then eventually they were able to double up and overload his position. Really good round from Kelton's Knights as they go two attacking rounds on Skyscraper. We'll see, though, if they can get the job done now on defense. Easier said than done.
But they've laid the foundation. 2 rounds, you'd be happy with that in pretty much any game. So we'll see if they can build off that defensively, what the play will be for them here, and what the approach will be from Antics, whether it'll be a little bit more linear, whether they're going to look to split their attacks in certain ways, how open the defensive hold will be from Kelton's Knights, for instance, and how extensive the roam is going to be as well. So a lot of different factors in play, such as the complexity of this game, but we'll see how they go. Double hard breach, Thatcher. I do want to see more value from Grim. I feel like that's probably the one thing that disappointed me from the Kelton's Knights attacks.
They didn't play it that much.
Grim not having the impact that it can.
Yeah.
And we've seen it at the international level. Grim, with the right systems, really powerful.
Fenrir as well. I don't even know if it was actually played by Antic, but
yeah, it was.
If it was,
once,
we didn't really see the impact of the F-Not mines, and obviously how big they can be in terms of this choke point sort of system. Talk about entry though from Antic. It's fast, it's abrupt, it's straight through. They've got drum control already. Tuhan, knowing that there's a player on the other side of the mezzanine. A couple of kills back though for Kelton's Knights, and it's a very scrappy round. Forced though by Antic. They've wanted to go fast, and therefore they'll get the benefit. And off angle, Tuhan and Killer able to then get the round win. We still had about 1:40 to play. And talk about a statement to open the second half for Antic Esports. It's just go fast, overwhelm positions, use the numbers to your advantage, and Antic Esports take a 5-2 lead.
Yeah, they just found that pocket in the defensive hold there from Kelton's Knights. Did a good job to then convert off it. I feel like it's been a pretty big talking point from what we've seen. I know especially us casting Korea is the pacing throughout a round, whether teams want to consolidate an advantage or snowball it, and making that decision on the fly often separates the good from the best. You think about like W7M at an international level, they're a snowball team, they get an advantage, they want to roll with it. Antic there in that previous round.
Look at the response.
Doing it in a similar fashion.
Look at the response. Straight over the Legion and the Malusi, wanting to try and slow that pace down. Now, I know you're not a big fan of the Banshees and the Malusi.
Yeah, I'm not,
and
sorry.
It hasn't quite been the same since that nerf a year or two back. It's been a while now. In combination with the Fenrir and the Legion, Frost as well, technically in certain areas, you very much can look to slow down the attack with this operator lineup.
10 seconds to go.
Yeah, very, very trap heavy.
Are there better defenders? Yes.
5 seconds to insertion.
To be fair, if there's one map you're going to run them on, and we saw, similar lineups from Antic, it is probably this one. So we'll see how it goes, what the response will be from the attack.
IQ brought as well by Logic, understanding there is a lot of utility available inside of the server at the moment from the defense. So, 3-round differential for Antic Esports, certainly being the better of the two teams right now. Here's defense Sky. Little fake noise there on the balcony, hop in and then rappel back out. And sit for now. Again, somewhat direct here by Antic in the way they're approaching Geisha. Makeup going to get opened up on the single wall. But so far, stock standard. Pressure towards site or close to it, and then make entry elsewhere. It's that perceived pressure. You've got to keep an eye on Geisha. Window plus entry in through makeup. Kind of keeps Kelton's Knights on their toes.
Ooh, Worthy.
Ooh.
Thinks about peeking drum. Now, the MP5 does have the ACOG, and a lot of people talking about how powerful that is. Elsewhere, Bouncing Balls gets the first pick, though. So, Tuhan falls on the ace. They do still have backup primary hard breach and Juicy with an exothermic, but Bouncing, if he looks to hold this position, hold this roam, Antic could have troubles clearing it. Bouncing to swing. Shots don't quite land, though.
Love the aggression from Bouncing, but eventually he gets overwhelmed. Two players, two different directions that he's got to take care of.
And it's good use of the Grim. It flushes him out. They had a full read.
Yep. 3 more uses of that Kwan Hive launcher. Minute 20 left. This is where you kind of need to fall back to sight. 3 on 3. Okay, salvaged things a little bit because we're starting to go against you for Kelton's Knights. Worthy, the benefactor there. 6 and 5, but now very low on that Malusi. 2 impacts available. With 60 seconds left in the round, Josh, no, he's got himself a real good position over towards VIP and has not been cleared out. He can actually come in from the backside. They'll have no idea. Josh can basically win this round for Kelton's Knights. Never mind. Drone. Now position known. But he is still a thorn in the side of the attack and has, of course, momentarily kept them at bay in their current push through drum.
Josh has just snuck through. Where is the push from Antic? I think they've pivoted. Pat looking to lock down site. 30 seconds. Frixel pushes through, though. And with the Bailiff, able to down Pat.
Really smart play from Frixel. Plant going down from Juicy. And suddenly, Frixel has just completely opened up the site. 7 and 4 for him. This is a real difficult position now for Worthy. Wants an MVP and a great of this region. He might just rise again in a 1 versus 1 as he creates it against Logic now. The dog himself bites hard, gets the kill, and suddenly Antic Esports are in a position where they've got multiple match points.
Cool, calm, and collected there in the 1 versus 1. Logic thriving in those environments. A 6-2 lead then for Antic Esports. 4 match points. Really good pivot in the last round. Bit of a stalemate with Josh on the flank. Antic were aware. They rotate around. Frixel able to just beeline it in. I don't know how he made that cross, but gets the down with the bailiff, then follows it up onto the re-aggression on that flank from Josh. So a really good playmaking display there from Frixel, who actually heading into the second half, I'm having a look at the live stats. He had the equal lowest EPS on the team alongside Duhan. He was going 2 and 4 and -1 on entry. So stepping it up in that round there.
I think as a collective team as well, Antic. I mean, Juicy's numbers speak for itself. As a player who is support on defense and a hard breach on attack, yeah, he's gone 12 and 4. Is he going to go 12 and 4 most nights? Probably not. But he is also very much capable of this. We're not sitting here astounded as to the numbers that he's put out. I think there's more to this Antic Esports roster than meets the eye. Logic is certainly capable of double digits by this point. Really, all of them are. And so it really does kind of highlight the strength of this team. Doesn't have to be just reliance on 1 or 2 players. For Kelton's Knights, it's, well, across the board, a poor night from the majority of them. And how many times have we said for them, it's Josh or bust? If Josh is playing well, then Kelton's Knights are in the server. If he's not, and he's 3 and 6 in this game, they lose a lot of their firepower.
Elliot Exo over towards Geisha. Mirror in play as well, so keep that in mind when we get closer towards the objective itself. But Antic may look to clear the map. Pat to play contact, so Azami keep barriers in play, being a bit of a hot talking point at the moment. Post-nerf still seems that she is relatively effective and teams don't want to be left vulnerable or, you know, having to worry about their ammo capacity in shooting down those barriers. Josh playing contact elsewhere as well, but it is worthy to get the first. So he continues to farm here with the ACOG on the MP5, and he'll actually regress now through Drum into makeup, and just makes it a little bit trickier for Antic to get an entry point.
Having a decent game is worthy, 9 and 6. Just kind of feels like a lot of these off-angle holds from Kelton's Knights haven't really paid dividends. They've actually done a decent job, I think, of avoiding the Koan Hive launcher of Frixel. Not just this round, but the rounds prior. Bounce gets a kill onto Juicy. Suddenly a round where they've got themselves a significant advantage. Tuhan, though, gets involved elsewhere. Trade immediately, though, by Worthies. We watch Frixel over towards that balcony. Checks top black. Now obviously has to recover that diffuser. Over towards Tea Room and Karaoke. Not the sights, though. And up close, Logic now going for confirmation. There's no one going to be inside a Geisha. Long way to go in terms of getting to sight as a duo, but they can play off of each other now.
So Josh then inside of Dragon. Antic could look to break this cross, but Frixel's going to have to back himself in to hit the pre-fire, and presumably someone is going to be swinging from office as well. So we'll wait and see. Does have 3 Hive launchers available, though, to maybe create some space. Logic able to clear the flash with the Adrenal Surge. But you can just see the nature of this map makes it so difficult to push through. Frixel good for 1.
Good for 2. Yeah, a little bit of a poor peek there from Bouncing. Crouch, slow. Easy one for Frixel. 14 seconds left. Remember, does have the diffuser, can play off of the Hive launcher. There's one ping, bit of information. And by no information on that second one, he obviously knows it's clear. Shots coming out, no time though, 2 seconds, needs to stick the plant, and by which he will not be able to survive it. So, Kelton's Knights keep themselves alive, scrappy round. Not the most conventional round that we've seen so far, but it's a win nevertheless. Coming into the 10th round now, we continue forward here on Skyscraper. Opening game of the night here for the Oceania League. Antic Esports looking to find a win for what would be the organization's first win in the league off the bat. Kelton's Knights looking to extend. 3 more rounds required on the defense, and they will be sending us to Tea Room and Karaoke. And we will be getting a pause. Technical pause.
Well, that puts a bit of a halt to the momentum, but such is life. 6-3 scoreline. Antics looking to close out this particular match. Just, yeah, some issues in the last round, finding it difficult to get that initial control over towards Geisha. Then in response, we saw Kelton's play quite a disciplined defense, not swinging and giving away anything for free. So just one of those skyscraper rounds, really, where as an attacking unit, if you have the disadvantage, it's very difficult to bring back.
I don't know if it's just the angle of the webcam, but how tall has Vinny got his monitor? It's like, is he just like looking at the bottom of the screen?
Who are we looking at? Vinny? The monitor angle, is that what we're critiquing?
Oh, I made an observation more than a critique. Unfortunately, we've got some issues here, obviously, with the players crashing and, well, pause was called, so technical timeout taken. Good chance for Worthy to go to the bathroom, of which, fortunately, the bathroom's not behind him. I've had that incident before. Kellerman as well. Off he goes. And so we get a moment here for both teams to stew over some things. They shouldn't be able to talk. At least not to each other. They can talk to themselves, I think. Is that allowed? I'm by myself at the moment because Guz is in a very important message being sent.
Oh, it's in the production chat, mate. It is work related.
It's work related.
It is work related. Don't worry. It is.
What do
you wish to talk about,
Is
Jake?
it pertaining to the issue that we've currently got, or is it something else?
No, it was about something else.
Okay.
It's all good. The roof is not caving in.
I would hope not. We did have the fire alarm go off earlier, so there was a very brief moment of panic inside of the studio where it was like, hang on, when do we go live? 15 minutes, and we got bells and whistles going off.
I mean, that's one way to create atmosphere.
Yes,
I suppose
that's been a great atmosphere. I hope everyone is.
I will say again, not to like talk about it, not beat on it too much, but it is.
What are you beating on, Michael?
The SI Grand Final. It is very
the
weird.
SI Grand Final.
Yeah,
you want to talk about the SI Grand Final?
Man.
Really? You want to bring it
wanted
up? Hang on. It's been an hour
Is it
into
on
the
the bingo
broadcast.
card?
I think it's on probably. It's probably on Rob's bingo
I was just
card.
gonna say it's very quiet.
Is it? Oh,
Very weird.
oh, you're talking about the difference between, say, casting in an arena with 10,000 people versus back in the local studio. Which, by the way, we are still the only league where casters are in the studio.
That is a flex.
I'm flexing. I don't care. We're here. Where's NA? Where's EU? They're at home.
They're at home.
They're at home. And we are back into the game. Apologies for the slight disruption. 6-3. A nice defensive win for Carlton's Knights as they continue our extension here into Skyscraper. T-Room and Karaoke to go into this 10th round. Antic have looked good, though, on the attack. Carlton's Knights are going to have to be at their best if they're going to send this one to overtime. 3 rounds in a row, they cannot make any mistakes.
I would concur with that statement, Jake.
Thank you.
Every now and again, you just get a bit of wisdom.
I'm not sure if that's wisdom.
It's pretty much just stating a very obvious fact.
I'm not a grand old wizard sending you on a quest.
Well, you are quite old.
Well, that is
true. The wizard
true.
part, probably not.
Probably.
You are, but you're not quite in your 30s.
I'm certainly
very,
not.
very close, actually.
Very
It
close.
is your birthday soon.
2 days.
Oh, really?
2 days.
I thought it was like a little bit longer than that. But
And then I'm in my 30s. Can you believe it? Jeez.
time flies when you're having fun, Jake.
Fun it is. Even more so if this one continues to overtime. Antic once again bringing the Grim. A very similar looking lineup to what we've seen from them so far in this second half. The Grim's been good. I still think Kelton Knights have kind of played around it nicely. Understanding you can kind of hold close to the Bs and therefore maybe a bit of misinformation that Frixel could be looking to play off as we once again open up single wall. Over on the exterior balcony. And pressure towards Geisha will be forthcoming. Holding that one again close with the Azami. It's Vinny this time though, not Pat. Switch up. Pat on the mute, more so towards site. Has a Nitrocell available. Again, aggression over towards Axie. And Office, what an angle from Killerman. No trade to come through from Pat. Never mind, it is.
Wow.
Nicely done from Pat. The SMG-11 pushing through Drum, gets the kill. 1 for 1. Thatcher dealt with. Not sure if that's really going to matter too much of the round though, but again, a pinch. Juicy gets another one. The man just cannot be stopped. 13 and 5 now for the Don. 90 seconds left. F not mine thrown. Drum side. Juicy
he's
again.
Back. He's back, baby.
What is the man on? 4 versus 2, down to Josh and Bouncing. How fitting, the player that typically is required for this roster to find wins, and is now down in a 1 versus 3 for Josh on the Fenrir. Double push coming from drum side, one still on the rappel. Outside Geisha, he's been droned. Now information known of his position, but he now also knows of the push coming through from drum.
But the Bs are down, so he can't necessarily reposition to find this line of sight unless he holds it through the breach. We'll see if he can find these picks one apiece. There's the first.
Another one close, looking to swing the doorway. Josh, though,
Located a bomb.
I think he just spotted one in Geisha. He'll play off of that. Not sure about that from Juicy. Can't criticize the Don too much, though. Frixel in a 1 versus 1. Now with Josh. 35 seconds. Can't play too much of this time. Frixel's got plenty of it. Swing on the hallway doesn't come through initially. Goes for the reposition, but on the cross he gets caught by Frixel. Good angles being watched, and Antic will find the win here to begin the group stage of the Oceania League. Woo!
He just got that one out.
Oh.
Yeah, good win in the end for Antic, and a good way to, I guess, drop the name in the hat of a potential top 2 finish here. Very early days, but they'll be quite happy, I think, with that result.
Yeah, very happy, and of course, no new org curse for this roster, something that has usually befallen teams in this region, where you join a new organization and you just happen to lose the first one. Not to be, and they won it pretty convincingly. I thought their attacks looked great in the second half. Their defense as well, particularly defining in the first half, very dominant. Yes, it was 4-2, and Kelton's Knights found a couple of rounds. In terms of the takeaways as well for Kelton's Knights, I honestly don't know if they should be too disappointed with this performance.
Yeah, honestly, I think they played pretty well. They probably challenged themselves a little bit with this sort of map pick where, especially on attack, you put 1 foot wrong, it's round over, and we saw that through the mid portion of the first half. They did an okay job in trying to salvage it. Some of their key players still playing well. Josh had a good game. I guess somewhat surprisingly, because we haven't seen him for so long, Bouncing Balls as well played quite well too. So they still have something to build upon. And it's very early days. With a playoff bracket now in play, they have so much time to learn from all their future games and plug it into that bracket. But they might not find themselves in second place now, potentially.
Yep, certainly so. Great way to open up the stage. Big win for Antic. Of course, still plenty of action throughout the day, so don't go too far.